Welcome back to Master Duel. Today we are on the main account for the first time, and today I wanted to go over some of the things I've been working on. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to go over the deck list, we're going to watch maybe a replay or two, and then we're going to play a live game, and then we're going to talk about some things that I can work on at the end of the video. Today's deck is Nekroz. Now this is not the list we will be playing with today, but the story starts here. Nekroz is one of my favorite decks, and kind of always has been. I have a long story about me playing it and not playing it, but I've always been tinkering with it. Like, end of last year, they came out with new support for it that totally fixed a bunch of the issues and made the deck a lot more fun. And this is the deck list I kind of had initially, and I was working on it for a long time. This deck list's goal was to try to activate all 4 of the ritual spells in one turn. They all say you can only use it once per turn, so the goal was to ritual summon 4 times. I think this version is salvageable, but I could not for the life of me figure out how to do any of that with any amount of reasonable consistency, and I was finding that my end boards just weren't all that strong or impressive. Dreadhair is the only negate, and like, Unicore shuts down extra deck monsters, but a lot of decks these days don't, or have ways of interacting without using the extra deck, or can summon big extra deck monsters that just can run them over, and it just ends up not being a big deal, especially when, like, I would just end up with these incantations that were inconsistent. I would end up with these monsters that have amazing tributed effects with nothing to tribute with them. And I was just finding I had a lot of problems, and the deck felt really bloated. And I was trying to bloat it up and bloat it up and bloat it up to try to make a combo deck that could actually work. And I never quite got a list right. I do think it might be salvageable. Miracle Raven is quite a crazy card, and there are things I'll talk about at the end that maybe could come and fix it. But what I decided to do is really sit down and narrow down what are the things that this deck can do, and let's just try to focus on that. And that brought us to this deck. This is the deck we're going to be playing with today. This deck is leaned out completely. We have cut one of the ritual spells. We are not even playing some of the Nekroz monsters that are genuinely good. And we are trying to play as small of an engine, kind of as small of an engine as possible, but still have enough, like, follow-up to function. And we're basically trying to use the Nekroz engine to have half of an end board, and then the rest of the cards in my hand assemble the other half of an end board to be able to acceptably function turn 1, and then in going second, or on follow-up turns, we are trying to stay flexible enough to be able to play around our opponent's stuff. One of the big strengths of the Nekroz engine is its ability to be consistent. And so what I tried to do is I tried to figure out what were the best things that the Nekroz deck was doing, and can we just do those things consistently, even if we don't have the high-end power level to surround it with a whole bunch of stuff. So let's talk about the end board first, and then we're going to talk about how we get there. So Nekroz of Dreadhair, he has an effect that says when a monster effect is activated, you contribute a monster from your hand or field, negate the activation, and if you do, banish that card. That is one of the big 4 effects. We want him on our field going first because this is a defensive effect, so that when our opponent then activates something, we can interact with it. The other card that is a new card. So Dreadhair was not here in 2015, but he is an older card at this point. The new wave of effect came with this card called Nekroz Divine Mirror. Nekroz Divine Mirror is a quick play spell, so it's capable of achieving interaction with our opponent because I can activate during my opponent's turn, and I can ritual summon during my opponent's turn. This is extremely important because Nekroz of Trishula has always been one of the best cards in the deck. Nekroz of Trishula says when this card is ritual summoned, you can banish exactly 3 of your opponent's cards, one each from their hand, field, and graveyard. What's crazy about this is this used to be only an offensive card, only removal, and it really only took away 1 card in the field and had a lot of problems. Now you could do it during your opponent's turn, And I'll tell you, the more I've played this deck, the more you really recognize Trishulaing your opponent during their turn is extremely powerful. More powerful than I think even I recognize. But I'll get to that later. Alright, so that's the end board. The end board is to have him on the field with a set Divine Mirror and a way to summon Trishula. We actually can get like 90% of the way there with just normal summoning Advance. So in Yu-Gi-Oh! No matter whether you're going first or going second, you're always trying to do some sort of combo. A chain of cards that go together and achieve something, right? You only get one normal summon, but as long as you have a card effect, you're allowed to use any number of special summons. That's how the structure of Yu-Gi-Oh! Works. This guy has an effect when he is normal summoned. So because he has an effect when he's normal summoned, he becomes kind of one of the more important cards because you can only do that once at a turn. And because this guy has an extremely powerful effect, I can get through the whole combo, but I'll get to that when we get to the replays. We also run a bunch of searchers for him. So Preparation of Rites can add a level 7 or lower ritual monster from my deck. That normally will add Brionic. Brionic can discard this card, add any Nekroz monster from my hand, and then we're going to summon Advance. So going first, we have lots of ways of getting to Advance, and then normal summoning Advance. And then if our opponent doesn't stop us, what we are able to do is then execute our combo. If we have one extra piece of material, we are able to summon the Dreadhair, and then set the Divine Mirror, and have the Trishula ready, and then that is what the Nekroz engine is providing for our deck. One of the coolest one I found, and I was so excited I had to build this version of this deck before messing around with other things, was these two shark cards. So, with ritual cards, they have to be summoned by activating a ritual spell, tributing a monster, and then summoning the monster. Because this card says, during your main phase, if a spell card was activated this turn, which we're already doing, you can special summon this card, which is one of the big 4 effects, and when it's normal or special summoned, you can add a shark monster. So this accomplishes 2 of the positive side big 4 effects. This card is going to add a fish shark monster, so our target is a Abyss Shark. This card says if all monsters you control are water, you can special summon it from your hand, and if you do, add the surfacing Big Jaws. So the goal is to have Advance, do the whole Advance Nekroz combo, and then have one of these 2 cards available to do this separately without using our normal summon. And then with that, we can add to the Dreadhair and the set Divine Mirror a Exceed monster. Now, we're going to talk about ways to improve the deck at the end. Currently, the plan is to just summon Kragan, which is a removal spell that can be activated during our opponent's turn on the chain. Because this engine is efficient and the Nekroz engine is efficient, the goal of the rest of the deck is to just chock it full of interaction. We have lots of these hand traps that activate during our opponent's turn. We have a couple regular traps. We have Called By, and we play enough monsters that our opponents play that we can actually play Cross out pretty reasonably. But this is the deck, and let's get into a replay. Alright, so the purpose of this replay is to show you what the deck can do uninterrupted without any problems, and with a very idealized hand. So this is the basic Advance combo. So Advance normally would grab Emilia. Because we already have Emilia in hand, we are going to grab an extra copy of Shuret. This is extremely important because this gives me the extra little bit I need to do the full Nekroz combo. But Advance says when it's normal summon, I can special summon a Nekroz monster from my deck. We're going to grab Shuret. Now, Emilia says if I have a warrior Nekroz monster in my field or graveyard, which sure it counts as that, I can special summon the card from my hand, and if this card is normal or special summoned, you add a Nekroz monster or 1 Nekroz spell from your deck to your hand. Emilia adds a Dreadhair. I went over his end board effect, but he also has an effect of you can discard this card, tribute up to 2 Nekroz monsters from your hand and or field, and if you do, send that many Nekroz cards from your deck to your graveyard. This is very important. So, Dreadhair will tribute himself, he will tribute Shuret, and will send Divine Mirror. All Nekroz spells say that you can banish a card and a Nekroz monster to add a different Nekroz spell from your deck to your hand. Divine Mirror is a new card, and it is the only one that you can activate while you have monsters on the field. All of the other cards require you to do it when you have no monsters on the field as like a comeback, presumably as a comeback mechanic. But this one allows you to do it as a combo piece. And then sure, it said when it's tributed, which, note, of Dreadhair says you tribute a Nekroz monster to add a monster from your deck to your hand. So if I didn't have the Shuret and I only had the Advance, I would not be allowed to add the Trishula back, and I would still be a tiny bit short of getting both the Dreadhair on the field and the Trishula in hand. But you just need a little bit extra, and you can do both. So Shuret will grab Trishula, and Divine Mirror will banish itself and the Shuret to grab Nekroz Cycle. Nekroz Cycle is a spell card, a ritual spell card. It can ritual summon any Nekroz monster. Ritual summon a Nekroz ritual monster from your hand or graveyard. So Nekroz Cycle is what we're going to use to add Dreadhair to hand. Now, these cards are banished, and you might be like, how do you get Divine Mirror back in your hand? Advance's final effect, where one notable effect of both Amelia and Advance is that when you ritual summon exactly one Nekroz ritual monster with a card effect that requires use of monsters, this card you control could be used as the entire tribute. This is important because because ritual spells normally require an equal levels to be tributed to summon the monster. Nekroz Trishula, for example, is level 9. We would need this 4 and this 4 and then like a 1 to equal 9. But instead, these guys can be used as the entire tribute. Now, this final effect is not what this current deck is built around, but I just think that a Nekroz deck out in the future could build around this, and we'll talk about that at the end. If this card is tributed by card effect, you can add any number of your banished Nekroz cards with different names to your hand. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna summon Cycle, we're gonna target a Dreadhair, we're gonna tribute Advance, we're going to summon a Dreadhair, and then Advance is going to get us back both Shuret and Divine Mirror. And there we have it. This is our turn 1 board. This is Advance plus Amelia is our combo, and that got us a Divine Mirror during our opponent's turn and a Nekroz of Dreadhair, which is a monster negate. And because that only used 2 slots, the other slots are filled with interaction. Effect Veiler negates effects, Infinite Permanent negates effects, and Maxi allows us to draw a card, or punishes our opponent for doing things and allows us to draw more cards. To be totally honest, our opponent wasn't really playing anything super strong, and so we win this game pretty easily from here. One notable thing about Trishula is when he says banish exactly 3 of your opponent's cards, 1 from each of their hand, field, and graveyard. This is why you cannot activate this during your turn going first, because your opponent does not have any cards on the field and doesn't have any cards in the graveyard. So you have to wait for your opponent to both put a card in the graveyard and to have a card on the field in order to rip the card from your hand. But we are able to rip 3 cards out of her hand, and because of Shuret, we're able to chain block. And then our opponent concedes before we can... We have to do a little bit of comboing to do more damage, but our opponent concedes. Alright, so this is a good example of what a good hand can do going second against a competent deck. Set 4 pass. Alright, we start off... The most important thing that we're going to try to do is get to Advance and try to see if we can push our combo through. But this is what they summon. This is very important to this duel. So Dynamorphia Rextrem says your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters they control that have attack greater than or equal to your life points. The thing about Dynamorphia is they have lots and lots of cards whose effects say pay half your life points. So the entire rest of this duel is me playing around this effect. We search Advance, and we're also trying to delay using our normal summon. Obviously Advance is our normal summon, but we have cards that we can activate without committing full committing to our normal summon. So here he pays another half his life points again. So now he's at 2,000. So any monsters that I summon with more than 2,000 attack cannot activate their effects. So we summon Amelia, and we're going to grab a tool that I didn't really talk about in the deck tech, but I left in the deck because it's very efficient and very important. We're going to grab for Nekroz Unicorn. So Nekroz Unicorn is in here for two reasons. It's just added flexibility. You can discard this card, target a Nekroz card in your graveyard, add it to your hand. But the big thing that it does is you can negate the effects of face-up monsters on the field that were special summoned from the extra deck. And then he is summoned with Kaleidoscope. This is also something I didn't go over in the deck tech. This card works by sending a monster from my extra deck to the graveyard. Now what's cool about Nekroz Unicorn is he lines up really well with some level 4 monsters. You have to send exact levels. And most of the Nekroz ritual monsters say you cannot use a monster with the same level to ritual summon it. Nekroz Unicorn does not have that restriction. So we could either go for Herald of Arclight, which says if this card is sent to the graveyard, which we're sending it straight from the extra deck to the graveyard, you can add a ritual monster or ritual spell from your deck to your hand. So Kaleidoscope into Unicorn can add another body on the board and can be this extra level of flexibility. But what I'm pretty sure I do here is we send Ints. I used to never use this effect even though I left it in the deck. I found out it's extremely important, especially going second. This says, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target a card in the field and destroy it. So not only are we going to summon this guy, negating both the effects of the Stealth Bergia and the Rexstrum, but we also get to destroy a card in the field. We decided to target the back row because I figured we had ways of running over his monsters and otherwise getting rid of them. But he goes for Trap Trick here, and he sets Ferret Flames. Alright, here's what Ferret Flames does. If the combined attack of all face-up monsters your opponent controls is higher than your life points, you can get rid of a bunch of life points, a bunch of them. So, his plan... Let's see. So I'm at 2,000 life points. So his plan is to use Ferret Flames to get rid of Unicorn to turn on his fusion monster's effects again. So from here, I'm trying to figure out what can I do to keep this effect from activating. Your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters they control with greater attack than their life points. Because Unicorn is inevitably going away. What I eventually figure out, and it took me a while to calculate this, Preparation Right grab Klausolas. Klausolas is mostly in here for some added flexibility. You could discard this card, echo a Nekroz spell and trap from your deck to your hand. But we're actually going to summon this guy. He can pitch himself to search a ritual spell that we're then going to use to just simply summon him. Amelia can always be used as the full tribute for a ritual monster. Nekroz Klausolas' onboard effect is Quick Effect. I could target a face-up monster on the field that was special summoned from the extra deck. Until the end of this turn, that target's attack becomes 0, also that target's effects are negated. So now, when he flips up this Ferret Flames, Unicorn is going to go away because he has more than 2,000 attack. But Klausolak's actually going to stay. And even if he didn't, I'm still going to chain Quick Effect to negate this guy's effect. So Unicorn is going to go away, and we're actually going to get an opportunity to keep this off the field. So, all Nekroz spells say if you control no monsters, you can banish this card from your... And one Nekroz monster from your graveyard, add a Nekroz spell from your deck to your hand. So we grab Divine Mirror, which is the one remaining ritual spell we have not used this turn. But we get to use the Shark Engine. Very exciting. So because we activated the spell card, we get to summon the Surfacing Big Jaws, we get to summon the Abyss Shark, and everything that I've done this turn, all of the playing around my opponent's stuff so far this turn, has not committed us to our normal summon. So we also get to do full advanced combo stuff. Now, what's interesting here is because we already used Amelia's effect, we go for Shuret, and Divine Mirror is a quick play spell. I usually use it from the hand, but it also says ritual summon 1 Nekroz ritual monster from your hand or banishment. And Brionic is mostly in here as a search card. You could discard it, add a Nekroz monster, but it also has an onboard effect that rarely comes up, but it comes up here. Once per turn, you could target 2 face-up monsters on the field that were special summoned from the extra deck and shuffle them into the deck. So we just search Trishula, just kind of almost as for posterity. We go into our Stealth Kraken, which is removal. Now, from here, our opponent only has 1,000 life points. And he goes down to 200 after this attack. What I didn't realize at the time is all of these cards say, when they're destroyed by battle or card effect, they float into each other. So I like, okay, it floats for, I guess I'll just attack over the next one. And this one also floats. And I'm like, oh no, I totally forgot about all this. He's at 200 life points. What do I do? It's pretty simple. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not going to attack. I'm going to use Stealth Kraken because Stealth Kraken also inflicts damage to your opponent equal to half the attack it had on the field. And that's how we beat Dynamorphia, going second. Alright, so here's a fun game where we summon a Vance, because if you look at our hand doesn't really do a whole lot else. Brio is mostly here to search a Vance, we already had him, and he Ash Blossoms it, which stops the Vance's effect completely. But he also happens to be playing Vanquish Soul, which means he's doing a bunch of stuff during my turn. It's my turn, the first turn of the game, and he's already playing a bunch of stuff. So he plays Holly Sue. We chain Maxi to try to draw a card. He chains Izuna. And we draw into our own Ash Blossom here, which is very, very nice. So this was going to do something to get him an extra card, but we're going to discard the card we got off the Maxi to negate it. We go Brionic for Emilia, which is kind of our next combo card at this point. She can special summon herself. She can add something herself. Do I go for the full combo? I considered just doing the regular Dreadhair combo here, but I felt like with him already having monsters on the board, and with Holly Sue's effect still being live, I wanted to, or not being used yet, I think I just wanted to try to get rid of many of his cards as I could. But luckily, Stealth Kraken doesn't target, so when he does this cute trick, I actually get to just destroy the Heavy Borger in response. The other thing is I'm trying to wait. I forget what, there was something I was waiting on, I thought, with the infinite impermanence in this game. Oh, and we don't activate the Preparation of Rites because I'm being kind of greedy about saving it in case I can pick up a ritual spell from my deck, or from my graveyard, which I don't have any in my graveyard right now. Alright, so they summon Ripper. Ripper has a quick effect. We're going to Stealth Kraken, and didn't they have a quick effect? There's a reason why they didn't use it. Oh, when your opponent activates a monster effect in the hand or graveyard, quick effect. So they couldn't really do anything immediately, so I Stealth Kraken to get rid of it. They go rock into the Vanquisher. They try to get some card economy going, and I imperm it. Now he will get the card economy here, because this is a quick effect that can be activated during either player's turn. And we draw another Emilia, which is actually pretty crazy. So we summon Cycle here mostly because we activate Cycle here mostly because we want a Dreadhair to prevent one of these quick effects at some point from happening. And the plan is to get into stuff later. So we summon up Dreadhair. Preparation of Rites now gets us 2 cards. I go for Unicorn and Cycle, which is a little bit debatable, but I couldn't really come up with like a good reason to go for anything else. If I go for Brionic, I'm just searching another card. We normal summoned the Emilia this turn. We didn't special summon it because I didn't want it to have a chance of being negated. So Unicorn Cycle is fine. We'll see how that pans out. We attack. He's down to 1 card, and I have a monster negate, and I have a removal quick effect. So he summons this. We're going to negate and banish. He's down to 1 card left, and he ends his turn, and we win the game. Which is very nice. So, obviously, I'm in gold. This deck isn't trying to win tournaments. This deck is just trying to be a fun thing you can do when you're at the lower ranks. Lower ranks are a great time to play with fun decks, weaker decks, and things just to and experiment a lot. But let's just get into a live game, and who knows? It doesn't matter who we're going up against, we're just going to play them. Kenpachi 3, and we will choose to go first. I like his Trishula pet. That's pretty cool. Maybe I should get that for this deck. Interesting. Alright, so looking at our hand real quick, we don't have a whole lot of interaction outside of the engine, so the engine just kind of has to work here. But we're going to do the same thing that we got in the replay, because that just happens to be the hand we got. We are going to summon Shrit, and it looks like he doesn't have any interaction, so we get to do kind of the same thing we were doing before. The only difference is we already have the Dreadhair, for better and for worse. So the question is, what do we do instead? And I think the answer is grab Unicorn? And Unicorn probably won't be used now, but it'll probably be used next turn. So we will activate the Dreadhair. Oh, do we tribute the Unicorn and send something else? I just don't think there's any purpose in sending anything. Well, we're tributing the Shirt for sure. Oh, maybe we should. Yes. Check this out. And we tribute the Unicorn. And we send the Divine Mirror. Okay, Dreadhair can send up to 2 cards. If you tribute 2 monsters, you send that many cards. And so normally I'm only tributing 1 monster to send 1 Divine Mirror. But right now we actually get to tribute 2 things. And the second thing I think we're going to send to the graveyard, I think, is a Nekroz of Klausalas. This is excellent. This is an even better version of the combo where everything is working out right. Okay, we will grab the Trishula. We are going to banish the Divine Mirror, and we will still banish the Shuret. Oh, I shouldn't have sent Klausalas. That was a mistake. We will add Cycle still. That's all the same. But now we have an extender. So this Aqua Spirit is an experiment. I still don't know if this is a good thing. But remember, Advance says any number of your banished Nekroz cards, you get to add them to your hand. So we are going to banish an extra Nekroz card, and we're going to add it back when we tribute this Advance. I probably messed up here by sending the Klausalas, because I probably should have just... I should have made it be a way to add... Well, we'll see. We'll figure it out. We're going to add this Unicorn back, though. Sick. And because of all this combo, because Shuret is our tribute with the Divine Mirror, what our plan now is we actually can use this Amelia to go into an Exceed summon. So far we've been summoning Kragan, and we now have 3 points of interaction, and we have this Droll and Lockbird, which is a little bit dubious, but we'll figure that out in a second. So let's see what our opponent is playing. Soul Resonator. Oh man, I mean, surely we just negate this, right? No, we actually... I think we can get them to commit, and then negate at a later point, and get them and get them at a later point in the turn. So I think he's going to summon the big Synchro Monster. I want to Droll and Lockbird, but the issue is Droll and Lockbird affects both players. It stops people from searching their deck. Sure, it is a card that's going to add a card to my hand, and I don't think I want to be doing this now. I'm also really regretting sending this Colossal Loss. That was a mistake. Oh, okay. That's a little annoying. He doesn't have a card in his graveyard either, so I can't Divine Mirror. Also, the rules of Yu-Gi-Oh! Work. Okay, the rules of Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a lawyer game. This is a when you can effect, which means that Trishula only works if he is summoned as Chain Link 1, which means I cannot chain it to other cards. So we have to find the right opportunity to summon it. It has to be an opportunity where the chain is clear, but it's my priority, and there's a card in his graveyard and on the field in his hand. So we're kind of just waiting for him to send something to the graveyard, and then we're going to rip something out of his hand. But it's unfortunate that if I had just ignored the Trishula, I probably could have gotten away with Droll and Lockbirding here and just relying on Stealth Kraken and of Dreadhair. But I chose to not do that, and I'm still going to stick to it. But man, it's tempting to not, man. I don't know. maybe this is a mistake. Yeah, I'm not going to negate that. So I think when this guy's summoned... Oh, shoot. So this guy has an in-graveyard effect. I feel like I'm kind of punting here. I should have Drolled. I really should have activated this Droll and Lockbird. I think I'm doing it mostly for content at this point. It would have been way... Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that means I need to do this now. Because he's planning on destroying all of my spell and trap cards. And this can only be... This cannot... Like, Trishula won't activate it if it's activated as Chain Link 2 or higher. Max C? Well, he'll get a card off me, but... That's okay. Max C's fine. Though I could Droll here. I keep telling myself we're not trolling, but I probably should have Drolled by now. Okay, so we're going to Special Summon Trishula. We're going to censure it. We will Chain Block the Trishula, so we can't negate it. This will add Brio to our hand, which is why we should not have sent the Colossal Loss to the graveyard. I'm going to be greedy here. And I'm going to get rid of the Crimson Gaia. And then we are going to get rid of the Resonator in his graveyard, and we're going to get rid of one of the cards in his hand. Hey, it's even the Scarlet Security from earlier. Cool. Oh boy, it's so tempting to just cut this off with a pass. Okay, so if I have Dreadhair here, the question is, does he have an extender for the future? Or do I wait? Because I'm trying to wait on this Dreadhair for his Synchro Monster that does stuff. But he doesn't have... Well, we don't know what he has in his hand. I'm just going to keep waiting. Man, I don't know. It's tough. I'm waiting on the Stealth Dragon, too, which is also tough. Nope. Cool, and we got it. Sick. Fun gold game. Alright, before we end this video, I want to talk about some critical things about this deck, and I want to talk about some of the other cards I have found that can work within the archetype, and other things you can do with it. It can I have had experience where it seems to keep up for a while just because of the amount of interaction it's capable of drawing. Obviously, you saw only strong engine hands today, but there are other hands where you draw just Advance and a bunch of hand traps, and you can compete with that if you're a skilled player, but then your opponent's engine will just be better than yours at the end of it. And that's fine, but it is a real drawback of the deck. But what I do appreciate about this deck is it engages with the proper laws of deck building and is a lot of fun, and you get to play with a lot of really cool cards. About the deck list specifically, Aqua Spirit is a pure experiment. Obviously, it worked well in that game. It did exactly what I wanted it to. But there are other hands where you draw it and you don't have anything in your graveyard yet, and you're just like, well, what am I going to do with this Aqua Spirit? This is probably a win more card, but the question is, do you kind of want a win more card in your deck to just do that one extra thing? Because sometimes it feels like the engine does it. Obviously, you didn't. Other things are, I think my suite of interaction spells is fine, but I'm sure that there are all kinds of like little things you can do. One thing I've considered is the Dominus cards that I don't own, but specifically this one, you cannot activate the effects of light, earth, and wind monsters for the rest of the duel. Like, in Engine, I'm only activating water effects, and then out of Engine, you don't really... You could probably design the deck around playing Dominus Impulse and just ignore the Nibiru and ignore the Maxi and the Droll and Lockbird, and maybe you still play those cards and you have to make that choice when you draw the Dominus. But to be totally honest, you could probably build a Dominus version of this deck with instead of like some of these interaction spells. But I think the slots themselves are correct. The number of engine versus the number of interaction, at least for the way I'm playing this deck currently. The extra deck is a bit of a mess. I don't think these Exceed monsters are exactly correct for the Sharks or for the Nekroz cards, and I'm always kind of half forced to play these Synchro monsters to activate Kaleidoscope. That is something I didn't go over because it's not important to this deck, but it's a function of this deck, because I can send extra deck monsters to the graveyard directly. But because they're in my deck, I sometimes wonder if there's a way to play a tuner that can allow you to special summon some of them sometimes. I'm not totally sure. Some other cards that I've found in my research have been Crystal Girl. It can when it's normal or special summon, during the end phase, you add a level 5 or higher water monster from your deck to your hand, and it can special summon itself from the graveyard, which is really cool. I have no idea how to like effectively put her in my deck and then summon her and then get that effect, but she seems like she could be really cool. There's Ice Doll, who can special summon itself, but he's a -1 because you have to discard another water monster. But when he's special summoned, you add a water spellcaster monster from your deck to your hand, and a whole bunch of these guys are water spellcaster monsters, and I'm just like, that's really interesting. Another thing I've thought of is Tidal, Dragon Ruler of Waterfalls. He has a bunch of things on here. The most important effect in my mind is if it's in your hand or graveyard, you can banish a total of 2 water monsters and or dragon monsters, and then special summon this card. This card fulfills the Aqua Spirit role of giving you an extra card banished to summon off of Advance. And I've considered using a card like Curious. This card says when it's link summoned, you send a card from your deck to the graveyard. And it only requires 3 monsters with the same attribute of different types. All of my water monsters are water monsters. It's just a matter of, can you find a way to efficiently make that third attribute, or that third type, because you're playing spellcasters, you're playing warriors, but can you get to the third one to play Curious, to send Tidal, to then still have Advance on the board, to then summon Tidal, and then instead of getting 2 cards back from Advance, you get 4, which would be crazy. But I just don't know if that's like a totally viable idea. Other things about the extra deck is I could play Bahamut Shark. It just requires 2 level 4 monsters. What can you do with Bahamut Shark? Lots of cool things if I wanted to dedicate more main deck space. One thing is the Virtue Dragon. When it's special summoned, you add Virtue Stream. What does Virtue Stream do? Virtue Stream says target a fish, sea serpent, or aqua, which notably is none of my Nekroz monsters. And 2 cards your opponent controls destroy them. So what you normally would do is you flip this up, you target either the Virtue Dragon or the Bahamut Shark, it doesn't really matter, one of those two, and you destroy 2 cards in your opponent. That's a pretty cool point of interaction, but it does require a main deck slot. But we have the extra deck space, so it might be worth messing around with that. The other one that because we have tons of extra deck space, the only thing required in the engine is to play Herald of Arclight and Ints, basically, and like the other synchro monsters I feel kind of forced to play-ish. But like from there, we can kind of play whatever. And so having cards that require way too many cards to be viable in a normal deck is actually more viable in our deck, in the extra deck specifically. So another one I've considered is the Xyz armor cards. You play Bahamut Shark, you summon Xyz Armor Torpedo. Xyz Armor Torpedo levels up into Xyz Armor Fortress. Xyz Armor Fortress adds cards from your different names from your deck to your hand. Those cards with different names, one of them is going to be full armored Xyz, the other one's going to be a spell. The spell card was this armored Xyz card, by the way. And then you summon this guy. You have a way to activate this effect during your opponent's turn and essentially remove a monster during your opponent's turn. All this to say, if I wanted to dedicate the main deck space to run Xyz full armor Xyz and Virtue Stream, and then the one other spell card, there's a version of this deck that runs all of these cards in the extra deck and can make the shark parts of the deck a little bit better, but all of these cards are also bad to draw in your opening hand. And so this version of the deck is super leaned out and is trying to maximize getting the best opening cards, but I do wonder if there's a version of this deck that is trying to get the most powerful cards and just accepting that sometimes you'll draw some of these bad cards. And then 2, this is a deck we already talked about. There is the full all-in ritual deck. Now, what this deck needs, I think, is just another ritual engine to give you another end board piece. But I do think if you dedicate more space to the ritual cards, there are things you can do with it that are interesting, especially in terms of card economy. You can play the extra Nekroz cards that have great tributing effects. You can that are bricks. You can, like, the incantations give you a whole bunch of materials that you contribute with, like, a Dreadhair and other ritual monsters. There's something to be done here, but I haven't really sorted that out. Anyways, nice to be playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Back on the channel, and this is the kind of decks that we are playing in Gold. If we ever get back up to Platinum, maybe I'll share some of those decks, and if you like this video, let me know, and stay tuned. Maybe I'll post more Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks.